to Razz Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing Netflix's The Defenders. The Defenders is the 5th installment in the TV Marvel Cinematic Universe. And here's a quick recap of what I thought of all of that. I love season 1 of Daredevil. I loved the first half of the 2nd season of Daredevil. I liked Jessica Jones. I liked the first half of Luke Cage. And I did not like Iron Fist. And here we have all of these heroes come together to form a team to fight the big threat of New York in the form of the Hand, who are pretty much senior citizens' second-rate League of Shadows. The Marvel Netflix series have been a little uneven for me. I've liked some and I didn't like others, so I didn't know what to expect from The Defenders, but I definitely was looking forward to it because I love Daredevil so much and I will watch him just eat lunch. However, I must say that I actually did enjoy The Defenders for what it was. It's not perfect and it's not as great as I wanted it to be, but it had some redeeming qualities, so let's dig in as I tell you about the top 3 things that I liked about The Defenders. Number 3, the visuals. I generally really liked how this show looked. I liked the camera work, not in fight scenes, and I liked the lighting and the colors that was used to represent the different defenders from across the city. Some people might have found that disconnecting, but I actually enjoyed the stylistic choice. And I also enjoyed picking it out in different scenes, like Daredevil had red lights and red production design in his scenes, Jessica Jones had blue, Iron Fist had green, and Luke Cage had yellow elements. And I thought it was really cool to watch, and it made me also always know what scene we're gonna see before we see the actual character. So I thought it was fun. Especially in the earlier episodes, there was a lot of cool camera work and framing that was used to reflect the inner thoughts or turmoil of the characters and where they are right now at this point in time. So I thought that the show represented the characters and the city very well, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Number 2, the setup. This seems to be a reoccurring thing for the Marvel Netflix series for me personally, where I really enjoyed the first half of these series and not so much the second half. And this show is not an exception. I thought the first couple of episodes were really cool from The Defenders, and actually the rest of the episodes didn't really live up to it. I thought that the story was set up really nicely and the characters themselves catching up with them and what they've been up to, and also seeing them eventually come together. It was all very smooth, it didn't feel forced, and it felt very intriguing and compelling. The looming presence of the Hand and the upcoming threat as well was very engaging and made me feel like the stakes were very high and that these people need to come together to fight this threat. My favorite episodes are actually episode 3 and the pilot of the show, even though in the pilot we never see the Defenders together, but I just loved it so much. I really enjoyed it from beginning to end. The number 1 thing I liked about The Defenders was Daredevil. Charlie Cox and his portrayal of Daredevil really carries this show for me. Without him, it would be nothing. It would be actually unwatchable for me. I could argue that Charlie Cox's representation of Daredevil in this series is better than any of the other character representations for any Marvel character. Ever, maybe. He's just so perfect. He brings so much of Daredevil's heart and soul and inner conflict and turmoil. I love it. And he steals every scene he's in, and every scene he has steals every episode for me. In terms of casting, generally, Jessica Jones does a good job. Better here than she is in her own series. And Luke Cage is great as well, but nothing beats Daredevil. He's just such a shining light and beacon, and everybody kind of pales in comparison to him. Not only is it just the performance of Charlie Cox, also Daredevil as a character has the best arc in the entire series. So he has actually a fully developed character arc more than anybody else, which made him also the most compelling character to watch throughout the season. Well, that's as much as I can say without spoiling anything, so let's move on to the top 3 things I didn't like about The Defenders. Number 3, Iron Fist, which is kind of yellow fist. Piss Fist, it didn't work. I mean, it's no secret that Iron Fist is the weakest of all these Netflix series. It's definitely weaker than The Defenders, so yay! He's the weakest of the group, he's very cheesy. Loras Tyrell is just not a good cast for Iron Fist. He brings none of the depth or none of the emotional weight that the other actors bring to their roles, and so he just pales in comparison and feels like the odd man out. Anything that was related to Iron Fist's story I found completely uninteresting and boring. I didn't care for Colleen and her subplot, so the Iron Fist didn't work for me at all in this universe. It wasn't as bad as it was in his own show, because Daredevil is here to save the day. However, I did like his dynamic with Luke Cage, and I thought Luke Cage and his bromance with him saved him a little bit sometimes, but still, he's my least favorite guy, and he's my least favorite thing about the show in terms of characters and their representation. The number 2 thing I didn't like about The Defenders was the fighting. I understand that this is not the Marvel movie universe and you don't have the big budgets or the ability to do the big fight scenes that we get in films like The Avengers, but Daredevil has arguably some of the best fight choreography on television right now. Unfortunately, the fighting sequences here are not as strong as I would have liked and as I was used to. Especially somewhere in the middle where these fight scenes get too dark and too tight and you can't really see what's going on. I feel like they're trying to cover for the stuntmen. There's a lot of them too, so at some point the stakes kind of get low because you're like, oh, another brawl, and it's just like fight. Oh, khalas. I get it, they're fighting. And something else that was really missing from these fight scenes is the fact that they did not highlight the individual powers of every defender. Luke is invincible, his skin is tight, you see sometimes that he's getting hit and not being fazed by it, but you can explore that more. Daredevil uses his senses, we see that throughout the show, but we don't see that during the fight. And Jessica Jones is supposed to be a super powered human being, so she's supposed to be lifting cars and lifting boulders. She doesn't really do much of that. She just punches people awkwardly and makes them flip. So there was a lot of wasted potential in actually portraying how these characters fight and making them stand out from the fodder and the ninja and the kung fu fighters that are jumping in and out of the shots. And also, I don't understand why Jessica Jones is in the team if Luke Cage can practically do the same thing. Because I understood Luke Cage to be the invincible one, the bulletproof one, and Jessica Jones to be the, the hulky one, the strong one, which was cool. But here they both kind of do the same thing, except Jessica is not bulletproof, so she's kind of a second-rate Luke Cage in these fight scenes, and I thought that was also a wasted opportunity. The number one thing I didn't like about the Defenders was the hand. I don't like the hand. The organization, the story, the characters, the main 5 fingers of the hand, doesn't work for me. And I think they are the weakest thing about this universe. I think they were the weakest part of the 2nd season of Daredevil, and I think also they're part of the detriment of Iron Fist. These people are not interesting. They are just an evil organization that has a lot of henchmen that play kung fu, and they do evil things behind the scenes, and they live forever. So I never really understood what it is that they do. What do they do? Evil things. What kind of things? Everything. And their final big attack on the city makes absolutely no sense because you don't know what the motivation for it is. They start out being this big threat, they're gonna destroy the city, oh my god, what do we do? We have to stop them. And then towards the end of the season, that threat really fizzles out. So the fact that the big baddies make no sense and they're not really that threatening makes the whole story lose its impact and lose its stakes and also make no sense. And generally the villains in the Netflix Marvel shows have been great. I love Wilson Fisk, I loved Kilgrave, so this felt like such a letdown, honestly, because we've been building up to them for so long in so many of these shows. All in all, I thought The Defenders was actually very enjoyable. It was a little uneven and not as great as I wanted it to be, but I enjoyed the ride for what it is, and I thought the setup was really great, and the characters worked very well together, and Daredevil, as always, stole the show for me. So all in all, I'm going to give The Defenders a 7 out of 10. So, did you like The Defenders? Let me know in the comment section what you thought if you've seen it. And also, have you seen any of the other Netflix shows? Let me know in the comment section, and as always, like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to tell me what you'd like me to review for you next. See ya!